session is titled How to Budget for Your 2022 Goal, Savings and Retirement. And this session will be led by Shana Barrows. Shana is the founder of Project X Financial, and she believes that every financial decision should start with education, which is great because we're here to learn. She's a first generation Canadian. Her mother provided a beautiful home and a wonderful life, but she never talked about money. And the knowledge and experience was not being shared. And Shana believes that in order for the next generation to succeed, we must share financial knowledge. Now, as a mother of two amazing children, her mission is to teach them everything she knows and share that knowledge with others. So, without further ado, because you guys didn't come to hear me speak, I'll now hand over to Shana. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Like she said, my name is Shana. I'm so grateful to be here today and to share some financial knowledge with each and every one of you. Definitely, if you want to take it offline, we can speak. I do free consultations where we can go through anything you're interested in, whether it's retirement, investments, savings, or a specific type of financial product. So I'm going to ask the host if I can have sharing capabilities. Perfect. Can you guys see my screen? Perfect, let's begin. So what I like to always do, I like to do a great introduction, but I feel like it was already taken away from me this morning. So a little bit about my journey. I did grow up with a wonderful mother who taught me so much things about life, how to have manners, how to speak, how to present myself. And the one thing she never taught me was anything about money. What I knew was we grew up in housing, but I never felt like I was living in housing. I got every opportunity as my schoolmates. There was no trip or activity that I wasn't able to participate in. Even as I grew older and she went to school and she bought a property, all those things happened, but nothing was being taught to me. So I left home pretty young. And during my journey, I made a lot of mistakes when it came to my finances. Everything was trial and error. But what I realized when I reached every accomplishment, I should have reached these earlier, because if I knew and I understood the processes, I would be able to achieve them. The best example is when I bought my first house. I bought my first house in 2016. At the time, we didn't completely understand what it meant to buy a house. We thought you had to come up with a large down payment, and then these payments would come, and we might not be able to manage them. What the reality is we could have bought a house 5 years prior. By not understanding the market, the cost of properties, and what was available, this hindered our growth. So with my two kids, my mission is simple. I provide them all the knowledge I learned in regards to financial literacy. Right now, I have discussions with my kids about stocks, what to invest in. We talk about different situationals. What if this happened in our household? How would we adapt? How could we make a budget? How can we change to regain back on track? So a little bit of disclosure before I continue. The information in this presentation should not be interpreted as accounting, investment, legal, or tax advice. It is not an offer to sell or solicitation to buy any security or insurance products. This is for educational purposes only. You will not learn everything during this session. However, I hope you learn some basic financial concepts, gain more confidence in reaching your goals, and help empower others to do the same. So for the agenda for this morning, I want to touch base on goal settings. This is very important. Without a strong goal, it's very hard for us to achieve what we want in life. And when we talk about goals, I'm going to be talking about SMART goals and how to create them. Then we're going to talk about budgeting. I'm going to touch base on different types of budget, because one budget might be good for Shana, but doesn't mean it's going to be good for Lisa or Felicia. Then I'm going to talk about a FIN number. Does anybody know what a FIN number is? No? You know what? I didn't know at first when this was first introduced to me, but it's a great exercise to start thinking about retirement. Because we're young, we don't think about retirement that often. We put it aside, we say we can do it later, but the reality is we can't. We have to start now. So we're going to do this exercise together. You're going to need a pen and paper when we get to it. Then we're going to do the rule of 72, another financial concept, and I'm going to briefly discuss TFSAs, RRSPs, and life insurance, as these are different types of vehicles you can save and invest in. Let's just go back a bit. So first, let's talk about SMART goals. When we talk about SMART goals, this is an acronym. So S is for specific. When we're making a goal, it has to be well-defined and clear. Second, M, measurable. So it has to have measures in it to show your progress. When I hit this flag, how far have I got? Am I 25% completed? Am I 50% completed? Am I 75% completed? Then it has to be achievable. Sometimes when we make goals, we make very outlandish goals. This year, I'm going to make $100,000. But if my income's only $50,000, I don't have a side hustle yet, how can I really reach $100,000? So let's make them attainable and not impossible. Then we want them to be realistic. They have to be relevant to our own lives and within reach. And then timely. It's all about a timeline. You have to have a start date and an end date. So when we're writing these goals, there's some things we need to ask ourselves. So for specific, we're going to ask ourselves the 5 W's, right? Who? Who is involved in this goal? If it's a personal goal, it will just be myself. But if it's a family goal, like me and my spouse, we're going to save for a down payment on a house. Now 2 of us are involved. So both of us have to be on track for this goal. What? What am I trying to accomplish? Where? Some goals have location. If I'm working out, the location might be the gym. Maybe I need to go to the gym 5 days a week. So where is important? When? When are you going to start this goal? Maybe you need to start getting education first before we start the goal. Maybe we need to do a needs analysis first before we start this goal. And then why? This is so important. Your why is what drives you. This is what creates your mission, and this is what ties you to it. Measurable. We're going to ask yourself 3 questions. How much and how many? If we're saving, how much are we going to save each month? How will I know I reached my goal? You have to be very clear when you're creating a goal, so you understand when you've reached it versus I've kind of reached it. I'm not sure if I reached it. So let's be clear when we're making our goals. And then of course, we need indicators of our progress. So for example, if I say I'm going to save $100 every month for 6 months, I know at the end of every month, I have to have an extra $100 in my savings account. If I get to month 3, I only have $200. That means I'm not reaching my progress. I'm not reaching my goal. And that's an indicator to me to let me know that next month, I'm going to have to contribute twice as much to make sure I reach my goal. So goals have to be achievable. So you want to define your resources and your capabilities. Some goals, we might already have the ability to achieve them because we have the knowledge, we have the skill set, while others, we might need to reach out to people. We might need to get additional information. Then we want to ask, has anyone done this before? So when we say achievable, it goes with realistic. Because if someone has done it before, why not you? What makes you different? Absolutely nothing. You can achieve it too. Then we talk about realistic. It's very simple. You have to have that belief system. You have to believe you can accomplish it and you can achieve your goal. So we're going to ask ourselves, is my goal within reach? 9 times out of 10, it is. Then we're going to ask ourselves, can I accomplish with the given time and resources I have? Maybe we need to go back to the drawing board. Maybe we need to plan a little bit better before we start off this goal. And then we're going to ask, am I able to commit to the goal? And that ties right back into your why. Your why should be that one thing that drives you forward and keeps you consistent. Then timely. It's all about urgency and motivation. Create a sense of urgency. That's your start and your end date. Because you know when you reach that end date, you need to accomplish these goals. And confirm your deadline. Make sure you're comfortable with it. No one else is doing this but you. So you have to be comfortable with the timeline that you set out. So I want to give you an example of a SMART goal. I'm just going to read it out. On February 1st, I will obtain a gym membership at my local Good Life Fitness. In order to be healthier, I will work out 5 days a week. Every week, I will aim to lose 1 pound of body fat. By the end of February, I will have realized my goal if I lose 4 pounds of fat over the course of a month. So you notice it was very specific. Her who, what, where, why was there. It was timely, it set time dates, it was measurable based on how many times she was going a week, how much pounds she expected to lose per week. This is what a SMART goal looks like. It encompasses everything and it's a clear, direct mission. So we're going to talk about different types of budgets. So doing this research, a lot of the budgeting strategies that we've used, they're very common. The envelope budget, it reminds me of the show. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It was Till Death Do Us Part. It used to be very popular. And the envelope budget is basically the same strategy. In her version, she used jars, but in this version, we're going to use envelopes. So first, you're going to choose 3 to 5 discretionary categories, right? Discretionary categories are things that fluctuate in payment each month, right? Things that are solid are always going to be your rent, your mortgage, but things like groceries, 1 week it might be $200. The next week it might be $150. The third week maybe $400 because you have a party going on. So you're going to choose 3 to 5 discretionary categories: groceries, dining out, clothing, etc. You're going to label each envelope with the discretionary name selected, and you're going to make a specific dollar amount on that envelope. Each month, you're going to add spending amount written on the envelope. So if it says grocery, I'm going to add $800 to that envelope every month. Once the money in the envelope is done, it's done. So it really makes you commit to your strategy. So each month, if there's money left over in an envelope, that's great. I personally would take that money out and put it towards a savings. Some people would leave it in, and then the next month they have a little bit more available to them. So what it does, it creates a spending limit and stops overspending on credit cards and debit cards. I know for a lot of us, it's very easy to overspend with these cards. We simply swipe them without thinking, not realizing how much this affects us on our day-to-day. So then there's the zero-based budget. And how it works is very simple. Families sit down to figure out how much they earn in a single month. Then after putting this figure in one column, they add up their required expenses and bills in another category. If there's a surplus, which is like additional money left over, it's used for debt repayment, savings, or investment. It works well for people who have serious financial goals on a short horizon. So in 6 months, in a year, I'm looking to achieve something. This is a very good budget for you. Users need to monitor their spending throughout the month to make sure they're staying on track. And it provides money to help build up an emergency fund, which is so important. So what I know is that the average Canadian does not have $500 of emergency fund available. Which this means is a lot of the time we end up using credit. And credit, although it is convenient, can cost us a lot more down the road. It's always important to have an emergency fund. Normally, people suggest that you have at least 3 to 6 months of monthly expenses saved up. In the current pandemic, I know a lot of people have stretched that to 8 months, even a year's worth of savings. So the 50-30-20 budget is very simple, and a lot of people actually use it. So you divide your income into percentages. So 50% of your income would goes to needs such as mortgage, rent, payments, utilities, childcare, things that are more fixed in your life. 30% of your income goes to wants such as travel, entertainment, dining out. And then 20% of your income goes to savings. So this includes investments, debt repayments. The great thing about this strategy is you can change the percentage based on what's important to you. I know some people do 50% income, 30% savings, and 20% on wants. So the debt repayment budget, it's a different type of budget. It's a hardcore budgeting strategy that focuses on getting you out of debt quickly. So what you would do, you'd list your income, required monthly spending, minimum monthly payments on credit cards and loans, because we're going to keep track of it every single month. Use a list to pay all your bills, then allocate any extra cash towards paying off debts as quickly as you can. This strategy is usually coupled with the debt snowball method. I'm a big fan of the snowball method. I actually used it Many a times, anytime I found myself having 1 or 2 credit cards that were kind of getting out of hand, this is my strategy that I use to pay it off. So simply, you lay out all your bills, all your credit card bills, your loan bills, and you start paying the minimum payment on all of them. You choose the one with the smallest balance and you double down on that. You pay any extra cash that you have on that lower balance, and then you pay it off. Once paid off, you roll over the money to the next bill, and then to the next bill, and to the next bill. And what essentially happens is you end up paying off your bills faster, because a bill that you were only paying $100 a month for, by the time you rolled over 5 times, you could be paying up to 600 plus every month towards that bill. Pay yourself first budget. I know this is very popular. A lot of people, this is what they focus on. It's all about paying yourself first. So basically, you allocate the bulk of your income towards your regular bills, expenses, savings, investments. The key to paying yourself first is to make sure you don't accidentally spend more than you allocated for your savings and debt repayment. You pay your bills early in the month or as soon as you get the bill. So no hesitation. We want to make sure that money for the bills is going out as quickly as possible so we know exactly what we have left for ourselves. As long as you're meeting your financial goals, you can spend the rest of the cash however you want. So how do you know you're thriving on a budget? There's a couple ways to know. You're planning your meals, you're eating out less, you're spending less than you earn, you're monitoring your bank accounts daily. A lot of people don't do this, and I always find it peculiar because you might swipe and not realize how much you're swiping. But with the apps, you're able to log in, you can see how much you're spending each day. And sometimes it can be surprising. Use the 24-hour rule. The 24-hour rule is very simple. All you would do when you want to make a purchase, you would wait 24 hours and then re-look at the item again. Because now you're no longer impulsing buying. You're thinking before you're making a purchase. I want you to take advantage of price matching. Use coupons, discount cards, limit subscriptions. For a lot of us, we have a number of different subscriptions, whether it is to Amazon Prime or other services. Some of these services I know for myself, I've reduced or I've completely deleted out of my personal life. Because if they're not contributing to my day-to-day goals, I do not need to pay that extra amount. And it also goes for cell phone plans. A lot of us are walking around with cell phone plans that have 10, 15, 20 gigs of data. When internet is so widely available, I know I can walk into almost any store and they have an internet connection that I can log into. So why do I need to be paying so much every month to walk around with a device with internet? And of course, it's always important to lock money away in high interest savings and investment vehicles. So this is the part we're going to do the activity and we're going to all identify our FIN number. Perfect. So what is a FIN number? It's your financial independence number. It is the amount of money you need to save annually for retirement. It is based on your lifestyle you desire. So everybody's FIN number is going to be different. So step 1, when do you want to retire? Write it down, that your desired retirement age. For some of us, it might be 40, 50, 70. I know my grandmother-in-law, she's like about 74, and it took her so long to retire. If it wasn't for the pandemic, I think she would still be working. Second, the annual income expected during retirement. So once you retire, how much do you want to be able to have annually, every year to spend? I know for a lot of us, we're thinking when we retire, we're going to travel, we're going to see the world because now we have time. Third, years of retirement. So life expectancy for a woman is about 89 years and a man is 82. So you're going to take the life expectancy of 89 and you're going to minus the desired retirement age from that. This is going to tell you how many years you're going to have to be able to live, right? After retirement. Okay. Then number 4, we're going to take the annual retirement income. So we're going to go back to step 2, that annual required income that you desired, and we're going to times it by the years after retirement. So You're going to take the answer for number 2, and you're going to times it by the answer for number 3. And you're going to have an amount. Now. Okay, and then step number 5. I know it's a lot of math. So we're going to take our retirement age, so our desired retirement age, and we're going to minus that by our current age. So this is going to tell you how many years do you have left to save for retirement based on your desires, right? And then we're going to go to number 6. I'm going to leave it up here so we can all catch up together. And this is going to tell you how much we have to save annually starting from today to reach those retirement goals. So you're going to take the answer from step 4, and you're going to divide it from the answer from step 5. Okay, so I want to hear some numbers from you guys. I want to hear what was the annual income you expect during your retirement? How much you want per year? Anyone want to go first? Don't be shy.
I can go first. I think I was dreaming very big because so I put desired retirement 45.
Okay.
Annual income. Once you mentioned travel, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna want to travel. So I put 600,000 years. That means I would be living for 44 years after retirement. So that would mean I need 26,400,000 Canadian dollars. And I only have 20 years to save it, which means I would have to be saving, not even earning, saving. Mm-hmm. 1,320,000 every year. So yeah, I'm gonna revisit this because this is impossible.
Anybody else want to share their numbers?
I'll share. I did 150,000 a year, retiring at age 50. And so I would have to save $450,000 a year, which still seems.
For how many years?
For 13 years.
Seems like a lot.
Yeah.
So the reason why we do this exercise is for a lot of us, we don't really think clearly when it comes to retirement. We always think that we have time. We always think that, I'll be able to put $500 a month, $1,000, maybe $5,000 a month. But the reality is we have to compare what we want versus what we have to do. And this is why we know that saving alone will never help us reach our retirement goals. So let's continue. I want to talk about the rule of 72. I'm sure, has anybody heard of this rule before? No? I'm so excited because I get to share with you the rule of 72, and it's so important. And this is what I teach my kids because this is what was missing when I first got my credit card, for me to understand how to invest, how credit works, how really compound interest works. So the rule of 72 is coined by Albert Einstein as the 8th wonder of the world. It's a simple formula that calculates how investments double, right? It illustrates how compound interest can benefit and hurt you during your financial journey. So to calculate it, it's very simple. We take the number 72 and we divide it by the interest rate, and that tells us the number of years it will take for our money to double. So what we do know, the average savings account only provides 0.01% interest on our money. So I know a lot of us, we open up these savings account, especially when we're younger and we're putting money in and we get those statements and it's like 2 cents. That's all the interest. Because I know when I was a kid, the one thing we always said is, I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to put that money in my bank account and I'm going to live off the interest. But can we really? So that's why we have different financial products. So let's not think about a savings account and think about a high interest savings account that can give us a 4% interest, right? So 4%, we're going to do the math. 72 divided by 4%. So at the age of 29, we all were gifted $10,000. Yes. And we put it into an investment account that's giving us a 4% interest. That means it's going to take us 18 years for that number to double. So by the time we're 47, we'll have $20,000. By the time we're 65, we'll have 40,000, 20,000, 40,000, right? So if that interest was increased just by 2%, so it's 6% now, and we do the rule of 72, 72 divided by 6%. Now we know it takes us 12 years for our money to double. So at 29, that same $10,000 at just a 2% higher interest rate already makes a difference. Because you can see by 41, you have 20,000. By 53, 40,000. By 65, 80,000. So you start to see how interest rates works in your favor. So let's say we had 8% interest rate. Same $10,000 at 29 years old. But at 8%, when we do the rule of 72, 72 divided by 8%, it takes us 9 years to grow. So now by the time we're 65, instead of having 40,000 or 80,000, we have 160,000. And then let's take it further, 12%, right? Same $10,000 deposited, invested at the age of 29. Based on the rule of 72, 72 divided by 12, it takes 6 years for that money to grow. So now we start to really see the difference. And now by the age of 65, we have $640,000. Who would want $640,000 in their bank account? I know I would. But this is why this rule is so important, because where it hinders us is when it comes to credit cards. Do you know what the average credit card interest rate is? Anyone? Off mute.
I think it's 19%.
60%.
16?
Into 30%, it depends on your credit.
Yes, and it depends on where you get your credit card from. Store credit cards have one of the highest interest rates in Canada. So that Walmart credit card that you get, that PC credit card that you get, these have higher interest rate. The average interest rate of a credit card is about 20%. Like, you need to say that to yourself, 20%. And I'm letting you know right now, there is no investment that guarantees a 20% increase. But the bank knows what they're doing. They won't give you a product that gives you a 20% increase, but they'll give you a product that gives you a 20% decrease. So if we use the rule of 72 and we think of our credit cards and we think about those balances that we're holding, this is how it's growing, but not on 4%, 6%, 8%, or 12%. It's growing at a 20% rate. No wonder it's hard to get out of credit card debt. No wonder it's difficult. And this is why it's so important that we learn so we can teach the next generation. So we're going to talk a little bit about RRSPs. Some of you might be familiar with them. Maybe you've started one of your own. Maybe they're offering at work. I always say when they're offering RRSP programs at work where they're doing matching, always say yes, always sign up for this, because this is your opportunity to not only grow your money based on what you contribute, but also what your employer is contributing. And when you leave the employment, you get to take that with you. So an RSP is a registered retirement savings plan. It is a retirement account that existed since 1957. If you understand the history of Canada, the revolution, what happened, in the 1920s, it was the Great Depression. And they had to encourage people to go back to work. So a lot of employers created pension plans. So you work for me for a specific amount of time, and then I will give you money for retirement. Fast forward 2022, who has a pension? A lot of companies no longer offer pensions. It is the government that still offers pension for their organizations. But outside of that, a lot of companies are no longer offering them. So there's no guarantee that you're going to get money from your company when you retire. And that's why the RSP was introduced. So when we think about the RSPs, there's some pros and there's some cons. I always say the general rule of thumb, if you are not making over $40,000 or $50,000, you do not need an RRSP. These are tax sheltered products. to help reduce taxation. So what are the pros? There's an investment growth tax-free. So that's great. I get to put my money in. If it grows through the investments, I don't have to pay taxes. The RSP contributions reduce your taxable income. So if I'm making $40,000 a year, I'm in a lower tax bracket. So I don't necessarily have to pay back taxes. But if I'm making $100,000 a year, now I'm in a higher tax bracket. So at the end of the year, when I do my taxes, they're going to ask me to pay back. And this is where the RSP comes into play, because now you're able to reduce your income based on your contributions. So if I make 100,000 and I put 20,000 in my RSP, when they calculate my taxes, it's not based on 100,000. It's based on now 80,000. So that's how you use it. So there's no withholding tax on US dividends with an RSP. So an RSP is an investment. You can invest in mutual funds, you can invest in stocks. There's different ways that you can manage this vehicle. And one of the ways people do is they invest in American securities or American stocks. And some of them pay dividends, whether it's monthly, semi-monthly, or yearly. So not having that additional tax on it does make a difference. You can withdraw money from your RSP to fund your first down payment on a house. I've done it. When we bought our first house, my spouse, that's exactly what he did. He took money out of his RSP to help with the down payment. 5, RSPs are protected from creditors. So you're going to learn more as we learn about finances, that not every type of investment is creditor protected. And what it means by creditor protected is, let's say you went through bankruptcy. With an RSP, they wouldn't be able to take that money from you. Or let's say you've passed away and you owe a lot of money to a bunch of different creditors. There's money in your RSP that you've chosen a beneficiary, let's say your sister, your brother, your child. Now this money is protected. So even though you owe thousands of dollars, the creditors aren't able to take this from your beneficiary. They take the money in full. And that's what it really means to have credit protection. So the cons to an RSP. The withdrawal fees are heavily taxed. So my mom, she's completely against RSP. She doesn't even believe in it. She's like, I get taxed when I get my paycheck, and then I put it in this account, and every time I take the money out, I'm taxed again. And she's like, those 2 taxes, I don't want anything to do with it. So the next thing about RSP, withdrawals are not added back to your contribution room. So for every year, you have a contribution rooms. If you look at your, not your T4, if you look at your tax return, it will tell you, there's a section that will tell you how much space you have that you can contribute to your RSP. This is always based on your income. So if you take money out, that is not added back to your contribution. You can't put that amount. So let's say it's this. I have $50,000 space in my RSP. I maxed out the 50,000 and I took 20,000 out. So in my head, I would be, okay, I have 30,000, so I should be able to put another $20,000 back so I can get back to that 50,000. But how the RSP is set up, they say, no, you took the money out, now your maximum is 30,000. You cannot put back in that 20,000. Also, an RSP contribution limit is based on your income, like I said. So you can't exceed the amount unless they tell you. And honestly, if you're not making a lot of money, you're not able to contribute a large amount. All RSPs must be closed up by the age of 71. So the minute you start taking this out, how they calculate it is this becomes your income. So every year when you file your taxes, all these withdrawals from your RSP is considered income and used the exact same way when they calculate it. And then lastly, RSP, if you're getting any type of federal benefits, this will affect the amount that you receive. So let's talk about TFSAs. So a TFSA, I always say for young people, as soon as you turn 18, this is the first investment account you're going to open. So a TFSA is a registered advantage savings account. So they call it a savings account, but it's more like an investment account. And I think that's where a lot of us went wrong when this product was first introduced. I know myself, that's exactly what I thought. I put in money in it, I treated it like a savings account, and I never understood why I wasn't getting a large amount of interest in it. But what was not told to us is that they're actually investment accounts. I have to tie my TFSA to an investment product in order for it to increase in value. So With your TFSA, interest, dividends, and capital gains earned are tax-free for life. Your TFSA savings can be withdrawn from your account at any time for any reasons. So one of the pros, obviously, first, it's a tax-free investment. So any money that I earn in addition to what I deposit, all of that is tax-free. I don't have to add it when I do my taxes every year. That's my money. Easy withdraw process, right? I can click on my phone, on my app, and I can move money from my TFSA to pay a bill or to put it in my main account to withdraw at any time. The TFSA contribution room is not determined by income. It's a set amount every year. So how it works, I know for 2022, the set amount you can deposit in your TFSA is $6,000. You're thinking, oh, that might not be a lot, $6,000? Okay. But in actuality, how a TFSA works, as long as you have been in Canada since the very beginning, every year there's been a set amount. And if you have not contributed, that set amount keeps on compounding. So let's say it's been out, for example, 5 years, and for 5 years, it was $5,000. So that means I have I have $50,000 space that I can contribute to my TFSA. The TFSA provides various investment options. I have personally a TFSA with Canadian stocks that I'm interested in that pays high dividends. I have a TFSA that's invested into mutual funds, so a variety of different companies in the Canadian market. And the greatest thing about a TFSA is that the unused contribution room never expires. So not like an RRSP, you can always put the money back even when you withdraw it. And TFSA withdrawals won't affect any type of government benefits. So what are the cons? So the TFSA contributions are not tax deductible. So if I'm making 100,000, 200,000 a year, I'm not getting any type of tax shelter from this in terms of my taxes. There's no grace amount for your TSA over contribution. So if I contribute more than the assessed amount, I will be taxed on that. Withholding taxes apply for US dividends. So I know a lot of my friends, when we first started investing in a TFSA, we went straight to the stock market and we started buying stocks, trading stocks, moving stocks around. And what we didn't realize is, one, you're not supposed to invest in any American stock in your TFSA. It's solely for Canadian stocks. And then number 5, no day trading is not allowed in your TFSA. They monitor that type of activity. And if you're a day trader, they will end up taxing you on your profits. So you need to understand how it works. A TFSA is also not creditor protected. So if something was to happen to you, bankruptcy, unfortunate passing, your creditors would have access to this money for them to become whole and for all your bills to be paid off. And then of course, it's a con and a benefit. The withdrawal process is too easy with the TFSA. I can basically transfer the money into my savings account, walk into an ATM and just withdraw based on that, or just walk into the bank and withdraw the full amount. There's no penalties. So last, I want to talk about life insurance. I know it's a little bit of taboo topic. A lot of us don't completely understand the benefits of it, but life insurance is another great way to start investing. So life insurance, there's a bunch of different products, but we're talking about permanent life insurance right now, whole life and universal life insurance. How are these different? So yes, you have the death benefits, that if something happens to you, your family would get a set amount of money. We all understand. But there's another part of life insurance that is kind of a secret, where a lot of wealthy people benefit from. So with this, you can earn cash value through your life insurance, money that you can take out at different points in your life. Basically, you can take a loan from yourself instead of going to a bank. So permanent life insurance has the ability to build wealth through the investment portion of the policy. There is a cash value that accumulates over time. The cash value grows on a tax-deferred basis. This means you don't pay taxes on any interest, dividends, or capital gains on the cash value component until the withdrawal proceeds. So for a lot of people, this is what they do. When their child is young or firstborn, they set up these life insurance policies, these permanent insurance policies. They set them up for 20-year payments. So for 20 years, the parent is paying into this. By the time the child is ready for school, there is a lump sum amount of money already in the life insurance policy that they can take out for education, or they can take out to buy a first home, or they can take out to start a business. Understanding how life insurance and these other products benefit you will always be a game changer. And this is why financial literacy is so important. And this is why my mission is to teach first with education. So I do want to thank you guys for your time. It's been such a pleasure being here with you guys, but I do want to open the floor to see if you guys have any questions, comments.
Yes, I have a question. So with the tax-free savings account, I remember you saying how easy the withdrawal process is, but I was wondering, what if you go ahead, use your tax-free savings and tie it to an investment product? Would you still be able to withdraw your money just as easily, or would you have to go through a process of like selling the stocks or something?
So when you have stocks specifically, you would have to go through the process of selling the stocks. For that, it can be done in 1 day. It doesn't take that long to sell it, or you can just withdraw the balance remaining on the TFSA and leave what is still invested in the stocks. I'll give you an example. For myself, I have an account with Wealthsimple. This is what I use when I buy like personal stocks, things that I'm interested in. And these are long-term stocks, things I just want to sit on. So for there, I put in a balance of $5,000. Out of that $5,000, I've only invested $3,000 into 3 different companies. So when I go to my TFSA and I want to take out money, that $2,000 is still available for me to take out at any time because it's not tied to a stock in the moment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yes, I do have a question. Thank you so much
It's my
for this
pleasure.
information. I feel like I need to book a free consult with you
Yes.
because it's just so much that we're never taught.
Yes.
Right. And, you know, even what you explained about the life insurance and being able to pull out a lump sum, I've never heard that in my life. So thank you so much for sharing that. I know it's just like a surface brushstroke of everything. I do have a question relating to mortgages.
Okay.
I'm not sure, you didn't really touch on that, but it's a question that I've had because this is very popular amongst Canadians to take out equity from their home to invest in other real estate or other investment products. And there's another school of thought, Dave Ramsey, I listened to him, and his school of thought is you never do that. You pay off your mortgage first, then you invest. What are your thoughts on how to approach mortgage versus investing?
So one, disclosure, I'm not a mortgage broker. So I'm going to say that straight, but I am a property owner and I've learned a lot about mortgages and how they work. So there's 2 rules of thought, like you said. The first is you buy the property, you pay it all off, and then you go look to buy another property. So I say this, most mortgages are about 25 years to 30 years. How quickly are you going to pay off this home before you'll be able to invest in something else? Are you going to take the 25 years or are you going to double your payments? What are you going to do to increase the timeline? So if you feel comfortable with the risk, definitely take out the equity in the home. Keep in mind, equity in a home takes a time to grow. It could take anywhere between 5 to 10 years for equity to grow in your house, a significant amount. And no matter what the actual equity is, the bank will never let you take 100% of it. So yes, you can take that money out and buy another property, an investment property. But with your second property, you have to be able to put down a full 20%. When you buy your first property, they only require 5%. Your second property and every property after that is 20%. So the amount of the down payment is always going to be higher. So what I would say for you is connect with a mortgage broker. I have somebody in mind. If you're interested, I can share their contact information. This way you get the right information and you get all your questions answered. His name is Barry. He's a family friend of mine. So it'd be great for you to connect if you're truly interested.
Thank you. I know the mortgage brokers, they want you to borrow mortgages.
No,
in general.
no. So with Barry, he's a mortgage broker and he's a real estate agent. He's
Right.
here to serve the community, and he'll go pay out of pocket if necessary to help somebody get their first home. So I work with him at the beginning, asking all the questions because I'm a questioner. I want to know the ins, the outs, the that's, the this, the that. And then I went with another mortgage broker. I didn't actually end up using him, but because he's family and he understands that in our community, a lot of this knowledge is not known. He understands the importance of teaching it and making sure that we understand so we can make good decisions. And that's what it's really about.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Your FIN number, does that have an element of inflation tied to it?
Yes. So FIN number is a generic exercise to get you thinking about it. But the reality is there's two things that are going to affect it. Obviously inflation, but also the investment vehicle you're using. So although it might say that you have 13 years and every year you have to save $450,000, the reality of that may be different because maybe you have it in a vehicle that's increasing in value. So the actual amount that you have to save could just be $100,000 and the rest could be interest accumulated.
I have another question, if no one else has a question. For investing, like what would you say is a good place to, where do you say is a good place to start?
So for me, I have a bias because obviously I'm a licensed life insurance person. So I believe in life insurance is where you start. But I always say to my son, I'm like, at 18, we're doing the TFSA. You're young, it's safe, it's secure. You can grow your wealth while your income is still low. So unless you're making $50,000 plus, a TFSA is a great way to start.
Good morning, Shana. Thank you very much for your presentation. A quick question, and if you can just kind of put like in a real practical picture. If I have a TD account and then I open up a TFSA account, what vehicle am I looking like? Am I going to open up like a mutual funds account, investment account, and then tie it that way? And then if I'm looking to like make monthly contributions, can you give me just like an idea of what that could look like?
So that one would kind of be a little bit difficult to just off the fly because when it comes to your finances, these are very personal. It's what is your objective and what are you trying to reach, right? So for you, I think it's understanding first the different types of investments, which I can definitely go through with you. Free consultation, it doesn't cost anything. We can go through with it. We don't even have to do business with me because for me, you need to just know and understand. These are my goals. These are the opportunities I have. You do a risk assessment. A risk assessment is so important when we're investing because not everybody feels comfortable investing aggressively. Some people are more mediocrity. Some people like something guaranteed. So it's different for every person. So definitely, I would love to sit down with you, go through this, let you know the different vehicles, do a risk assessment and see what you're comfortable with. And then you can set up the automatic monthly payments based on a dollar amount, based on your needs analysis. Because not knowing how much money is coming in and going out, it's hard for me to say a specific number or what you should specifically do. What we need to understand when it comes to finances, these are all unique journeys. No one's journey is going to be the same. There's no cookie cutter answer to our problems.
Another question, what are your thoughts on bankruptcy? Is that like just like a specific situation, but just your thoughts generally?
My thoughts on bankruptcy. I think it's grown. When I was younger, I was completely against it. I never understood why you would go through the process of bankruptcy. Now that I'm older and I've seen a couple of people and I've gone through the experience with them of what it takes or what they had to do or why they had to do bankruptcy, I understand it. But I think before you file for bankruptcy, you must try every avenue first. Maybe we can consolidate payments, make them smaller, negotiate with your lenders. We start there before we run to bankruptcy because what people don't understand, it does affect your credit score, your purchasing power for anywhere between 7 to 8 years. And that's a long period of time for you to be not able to buy properties, buy your first home, move on with what you want to grow.
And one more question.
Okay.
Sorry, Ashley, are you going to go ahead? Okay. So you said that you advise your son when he becomes 18 to open up a TFSA account. So at 18-year-old normally doesn't have like a real big income coming in. Normally they're at school or they're going to school. What would you suggest that like deposit be in their TFSA or a saving arrangement?
So what I would do, what I'm going to do actually with my son, there's two things. His first year of college, he's actually starting September. So it's right there. The first year of college, I've always told him I'm guaranteed I'm going to pay that for you fully, your books, everything. So that first year you don't have to worry about it. But I need some type of responsibility. So his forte or what he has to go is to get a part-time job, something that he could do on the weekends. Right now, in his whole entire life until now, mommy has been paying everything. So for him, I told him it's going to be a 50% investment because at the end of the day, I'm still carrying the weight of what you're doing. So if you're working 2 days a week at what's minimum wage now, like $15 an hour, you still should be able to bank at least 50% of that if I'm still paying for food, travel, entertainment, and everything else.
Shana, there's a question in the chat.
Oh.
So it says, why not plan for vehicles like rental income that will give an income and move with inflation?
Okay, so I'm going to answer this question. Once again, I'm not a mortgage person, I'm not a real estate agent, but I'm going to tell you, when it comes to income properties, what we don't always think about is the risk involved. So like I forgot who was asking about if we had the first property, we take out equity, we buy the second property. When it comes to rental incomes, it's not guaranteed you're going to have a renter. And the times that you do not have a renter, you still have to pay that mortgage on the second home. And that can become very costly. During the pandemic, I had a really close friend of mine. He bought a property when he was young. He completely rented out. He's never lived in it. And during that time, I think it was about 6 months in, his tenants who has been there for about 3 years, they had to come to him and say, well, we can't afford it any longer. We're gonna have to go move in with family. And he had his property up for another 3 months before he could get somebody to rent it. So for that 3 months, now that becomes a bill. So if you're not properly planning or you don't have that money readily available to pay that mortgage every month, that can be a very strain on your financial situation.
Thank you. And then just one more question was in the chat asking if we could have a copy of your PowerPoint.
So I generally don't share copies of my PowerPoint, but definitely if you want to learn more and you want to learn specific, I urge you reach out to me. We can book a meeting free of charge. Consultation, we'll sit down, see what's important to you. Depending on the topic, I might bring in my senior mentor. His name is Emmanuel. He works with the company in the community as well. And for him, it's the same thing. His mission for the year, he wants to help 100 families get ahead financially. And this is something that I'm passionate about. So if I feel like your situation might need a little bit more of that senior touch, I'll always dial him into the call so we can make sure everything is addressed.
Okay, thank you. And Sister Sheena's hand is up.
Yeah, I have another question. But before my question, just to add to what you're saying with the risk for investment properties, a lot of times too, landlords have a huge bill to repair damages from the tenants. So whatever profit you got through their tenancy, sometimes you're dumping $10,000, $15,000 just to fix back the place to rent it again. So I appreciate that. It's high risk, but a lot of people don't really talk about that. My question, how do you educate your children from an early age about, because like first you have to learn as a parent, but where do you start with your children with just the basics? How did you approach teaching, your son, for example, from an early age about finances, some practical tips?
So there's a couple of things that I did when they were young, because my story is this: I have 2 boys and they're a little bit of distance apart. So my first son, I was a typical mom. I spoiled him, I bought all this stuff for him. And then when I had my second child, I was like, I don't need to buy anything. Like every toy, it's like, it's already here. Everything you need is already here. So that's when I started thinking about it differently. So I made this rule when they were young, when it came to like holidays and Christmas and their birthdays. So when it comes to gifts, I do not buy gifts unless it's your birthday or it's Christmas, nothing in between. So I provide your necessities and you're able to make a wish list, which I will go through with you. And they understand that not everything that you wish for will come. So they understand delayed gratification. So for Christmas time, I used to be the parent that bought like 10 gifts 15 gifts. So I had to reduce that. So what I did, I made a plan. You get 4 gifts, and it's very simple. Something you need, something you want, something to read, and oh God, what's the last? Something to wear. And that's how I bought them gifts for the holidays. And they understood that your gift would fall in those categories. So when they got that gift that they really wanted, they appreciated it more. And they understood that, sometimes grandma will give you a little bit of money. So then now you can go buy something else, but let's try to put a little bit in your piggy bank. But that's how I started, making sure they understand the difference between needs and wants. And if you want like additional information about that, my younger son, Keneal, he's 10 years old now. Last year, he started a podcast, Counting Pennies with Keneal. So this is information for kids of his age, younger, where he shares ideas, thoughts of how they can start learning about finances.
Thank
Do
you.
you
And
mind,
sisters-
sorry,
oh,
Counting Pennies, your son's podcast. Do you mind putting the link in the chat, please?
All right, let me see
Thank
if I can
you.
pull it up. If I can't pull it up now, I will give it to Ashley.
yeah, I'm
And then
gonna
she'll-
post it. I'm posting
Okay.
it right now so that everyone.
Okay.
And I know, Sister Livingston, I know you had your hand up. You can go ahead.
Hi, that question was already asked. The only thing I wanted to add, thank you very much for this informative session. Here as a older person close to retirement, wishing I had heard all these much earlier. I know about some of the stuff. I know about the investment in insurance, which I've done over the years. I think the only thing I did a little bit off key was, where my children was concerned. Like you, my parents provided everything and I never had much of a, it was just there. So I had to go figure stuff out for myself. My question is with regards to NFTs. Are there, what information would you give right now regarding to investing in NFTs as the new thing?
So when it comes to NFTs, I'm going to be very frank with you. I've only started learning about them. My husband, this is his passion. He likes stocks, he likes investments, he likes Bitcoins. He is more into this new age metaverse types of investment. I'm a little bit more cautious because right now, with a lot of these cryptocurrencies, a lot of them don't transition to actual hard paper money. So a lot of them, you're investing, giving them real cash, and they're holding onto it until they develop a way to pay you back. So for me and for my kids and what I want to do right now, I like to have the actual cash in hand, and I like to have the specific currency that I can use. Definitely NFTs, Bitcoins, cryptocurrency. It seems like this might be the new way for the future, but for me, respectively, I'm just not ready to take that chance.
Yeah, thank you very much. I did this, I did the Bitcoin, and as soon as it started to grow, I got rid of it because I was not comfortable, just like you. I'm old school. I like that money in the pan kind of thing, not even in the bank. So yeah, that blockchain, all of that, I am up on that kind of investment. However, I guess I need to book an appointment with you. Not just me. All right, so I'll go there with it later on. But again, thank you very much for this informative session.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I do appreciate that. I'm just going to share the screen. You guys can write down my number. That's my email address and my Instagram page. This way you guys can reach out to me at any time. We can talk about booking an appointment. Actually just expanding the conversation into something more specific in what you're looking at. I can share the products and services and the education that I can share, or I can forward you to somebody else if it's something specific out of my realm. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for having me today. I completely appreciate it. I'm so honored to have spent my Sunday morning with you guys, and I hope to be invited back at a later date.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shana. Thank you for all the wonderful information. It was really, really good. And I'm sure now we're probably like, okay, 2022, we have to get it together. Because that's what I'm thinking in my head, like, we have to get it together, especially with my millions for my VIN account, a VIN number. Yeah, we have to get it together. But thank you so much. If we don't have any, do we have any more questions before we let Shana go? All right, we're just seeing in the chat. Everyone is super grateful. Awesome. All right. So again, Shana, thank you for being here, for spending your time. We don't take it lightly at all. And you came with solid information, and we're so happy that you were able to be here with us.